Welcome back, Michigan basketball fans. Today we have a bit of a recruiting video for the 2022 season, and it's going to be about the point guards in that class. So, as you may know, Michigan has had a stellar point guard resume for the past decade, and by 2022, the rotation should include Frankie Collins, Zeb Jackson, a mix of those guys, but we're trying to rebuild every year, and there's some great looking recruits on the horizon. So, the first one I want to talk about is Doug McDaniel, um, a 5'10", 155 pounds. Some people think he's 5'11". His coach said he's 5'11". But when you watch him play, he looks very short. I will say, definitely no more than 5'10", 5'9" possibly. But yeah, this dude's a baller. He's ranked in the top 80 on Rivals and 247. He's the 52nd overall at 247 composite. Rivals has him at 75th. And he's been in the top 80. He's fallen off a little, actually, from being in the top 40, but still a top 80 player, a 4-star. He's from the DMV area around Washington, D.C. Played for one of the powerhouse programs in the country, Paul VI, during last season, originally from Fairfax, Virginia. So he's a D.C. kid, and that's really good for Michigan recruiting because Juwan Howard recruits the area very well, the DMV area, as it's called, based on connections he has from his playing days in Washington, D.C. Doug McDaniel's AU team is also Team Takeover, which is the team that Hunter Dickinson and Terrence Williams played on. So he has some big connections to Michigan, just right off the bat for recruiting purposes. Now, Doug McDaniel is a super shifty point guard. Great speed, good handle of the ball, basically everything you expect for a guy who's only 5'9" to be able to compete at a super high level. He fits the shortest mold of the Michigan point guard. Although I do think weight-wise, 155 pounds in the Big Ten, he's going to need to get significantly larger. He's going to put on hopefully 15 pounds of muscle if he chooses to go to Michigan or even any D1 school. He's quite small, obviously, but he uses it to his advantage if you watch tape. Shifty, bouncy, but explosive, and he doesn't let defenders stick on him. He's great in pick-and-roll situations, has a quick but controlled handle that can really blow by slower guards. He's also one of the best passers in this class. I'd say top 2 or top 3 for point guards. Obviously, he's quite talented in that regard. But Doug McDaniel, yeah, top passer in the class, plays for Team Takeover. And his recruitment, Michigan offered him in the summer of 2020, so quite a bit ago. And they've led for a long time. Juwan clearly liked what he saw with this kid. And in high school, Doug McDaniel for Paul VI showed no reason why he shouldn't be a top quality point guard. He put up 15 points a game, 7 assists per game, and 3.5 steals. So great hands, quick hands, and possibly making up for his lack of size on the defensive end with elite instincts and quickness with his hands. And that's something that is good to see. However, he only shot 52% from the free throw line, discouraging, especially concerning because Michigan has had point guards with free throw struggles in the past. Xavier Simpson especially comes to mind, but other guys too. Derek Walton. Trey Burke was not the best free throw shooter either. But I would look past that because Doug McDaniel is still a good overall shooter, 37% from 3, 44% from the field. And his shot mechanics are sound. He has a good three-point jumper. If you watch the tape, he can really elevate, although I will say I am concerned about his lack of size, and it might make him difficult for him to spot shoot in bunches in the Big Ten. Other recruiting factors, he's close friends with Jet Howard from AAU days back 4 or 5 years ago when they were in middle school. So Jet is obviously Juwan's son and almost a lock to go to Michigan. I'll talk about him later. McDaniel has been quoted on saying that he likes Michigan's system, how we develop point guards, obviously looking at guys such as Derek Walton, Trey Burke, Mike Smith recently, Xavier Simpson. And I think I would be happy if Michigan took a chance on Doug McDaniel as a smaller point guard. He has an unofficial visit coming to Michigan on June 16th. That's really close. A lot of these guys are making their visits this summer. And It's a little iffy because Seth Trimble, who I will talk about next, there's been some more talk about Michigan focusing on him. Obviously, Michigan will not be taking 2 point guards from this class. I highly doubt they will. So it's going to be one of these guys, and there's another guy on the next page I'll talk about for a little bit. But it's mainly between these two guys. But I still think Doug McDaniel is Michigan's in the lead for his recruitment at the moment. Florida's coming up on them a little bit, Arizona State a little bit. But I still think that he is on track to head to Ann Arbor, barring anything with Seth Trimble. Obviously, that does get iffy, but he's been forecasted by rivals. He's been crystal balled by 247, so he still is favorable to land at Michigan. Now, Seth Trimble. While Doug McDaniel's stock has fallen a little bit, Seth Trimble has been just skyrocketing. He was unranked on the Rivals 150, and now he's all the way up to 34, as you can see. He jumped 34 spots just last week after his performance in the Spring Showcase with the Wisconsin-based Phenom U and Nike EYBL circuit. On 247's composite, he's only ranked in the 70s, but I think he's underrated because this dude's an absolute beast. He's 6'3", he's 185, complete opposite of Doug McDaniel in that regard. He's massive, and he's extremely explosive. Just jumps out of the gym. He has strength and quickness of a prototypical NBA player, and he's improved his driving and finishing ability tremendously. He's a great rebounder for a point guard, and he's great in transition because he's so fast and he's so athletic. He's a great passer in transition, not as good in the half court, and definitely not at the level of Doug McDaniel. So there's a weakness. He's a slightly worse shooter than Doug McDaniel, but he has a very good pull-up, and his mid-range game will work better because of his height than Doug McDaniel's. He averaged 24 points a game at Menominee in Wisconsin. He's a Midwest guy, and that's always helpful. He's a local kid, relatively local, I should say. But Midwesterners, Michigan is a very heavy pull for the Midwest, so very good location for him to be in Menominee Falls, right on the Lake Michigan. He's a stout defensive player. Steal block numbers not quite as awesome as Doug McDaniel's, but still, I'm very high on this guy's potential. He's dynamic, and he could be an impact player right as a freshman if Michigan gets him. However, with the hype this dude's been getting, Seth Trimble has been getting a lot of hype, and he's been getting a lot of offers. North Carolina especially has offered him recently. His brother JP Takoto played at North Carolina, and that is becoming a chief rival to Michigan. North Carolina offered him May 19th. Michigan offered him a couple weeks prior to that. And those two are going to duke it out for this recruitment in my mind. I still favor Michigan because on Trimble's Twitter, as soon as Michigan offered him, he said something along the lines of he was just super stoked about it. And he didn't say that for any other school, so that's a good sign. And I do believe Juwan's a very good recruiter, and North Carolina just coming off a coaching change. I think Michigan is the more stable place to be right now. So I think Seth Trimble still goes to Michigan. He's officially visiting on June 13th, which is 6 days from now. And UNC he's going to visit on June 16th. So those will be some huge visits. He'll see how the programs run. I'm hoping he loves how Michigan is, and I do believe he will be going to Michigan. His college decision's in late August or October, he said. Doug McDaniel also said that he would be making his decision in late August. So that's the time to be watchful. Once again, I don't think Michigan gets both these players. I think it's one or the other. My personal favorite would be Seth Trimble based on potential, athleticism, and just overall level of play. I don't think a 5'9" point guard will work in the Big Ten as much as Seth Trimble being 6'3", 185 will. But I would be happy to land Doug McDaniel. Doug McDaniel, his chief competition for Michigan is with Florida, Arizona State. And with Seth Trimble, it's really a two-horse race between North Carolina and Michigan. I bet we get one of these guys. It just depends on who Juwan really focuses in on. Now, one other player just to monitor. It's the only other player Michigan's offered, Jaden Bradley. This is unlikely, to say the least. He is a super high-quality recruit. He's top 10 nationally, the second point guard in the class. He's a 5-star. He's the pro. If you made a point guard archetype, he would be the guy. At IMG Academy, he plays for Team CP3. He's a big-name player. I don't think Michigan has much of a chance in this recruitment. I hate to say it. It looks like it'll be either Kentucky or North Carolina. and that's totally fine because both Seth Trimble and Doug McDaniel, I'll go back because Jaden Bradley's not too much of a presence, but I can't go back. Yes, I can. Seth Trimble or Doug McDaniel both would be great options for Michigan, and we will probably land one of these guys. If I had to bet, I'd go Seth Trimble at the moment. I think that's where Michigan's leaning. It was earlier Doug McDaniel. 2 months ago, I would have said Doug McDaniel, but today it's Seth Trimble, and that's great for this class. Top 40, top 30 player. By the time he's a senior, I bet he'll be in the top 25. He could even be a 5-star. I think that'll be huge for Michigan. And let's hope for the best there. I'll be making a lot more recruiting videos in the future. Drop a like if you're a big Michigan fan and you're excited for this class because it'll be a doozy. And yes, subscribe. Brad's going to make a video today, so stay tuned for that, and peace.